Hey everyone, I'm Jason. I'm a senior at Stanford. Sorry if there's any background noise. It's Friday evening and there's a party in the lounge of my dorm right now. So hopefully the quality of this talk will outweigh the background noise. Sorry about it in advance. But thought I'd make a quick video about how to plan courses. I'm a senior, so I've had quite some trials and tribulations with planning courses, and I thought I'd pass it along so that all my learnings and hardships would not come to waste. I've also been getting a couple messages from freshmen and sophomores recently, so I thought I'd share this video instead of sending the same thing every time. Before I start, I'd like to provide a disclaimer that this is how I plan my courses, and I'm not an academic advisor. Other people have had wonderful Stanford experiences with different strategies, but I hope this can just show you a strategy from a senior about how to plan courses. And I think I've planned my courses pretty well. I've often found, for example, one class that fulfills 3 requirements at once that's normally fulfilled with 3 classes, and I've been able to find enough time to finish a major and co-term within 4 years and also have time for a study abroad. So it's been a wonderful time here, and I'm happy to show you a bit of my thinking behind how I do it. Oh, okay, there we go. So let's do a roadmap. First, I'll share some tips, then I'll show how I might plan a quarter along with my 4-year plan, and then I'll provide some course recommendations and reflections. So first, tips. My number 1 tip is that you should do your 4-year plan or your 2-year and advanced plan as soon as possible. If you do this earlier, you can find the shortcuts. You can find the 1 class which substitutes for 3 classes. And when you have your shortcuts, you can take more interesting classes and you can have more time and you can study abroad. Tip 2. What is a good class? Well, it's a class you really enjoy, but from a graduating perspective, it's a class that knocks out 2, 3, or even more requirements out as once. So what are your requirements? You have your general requirements, which are your ways. You have your college requirements. I think that's more of a thing now than it was when I was a freshman. Power, and your think requirements, if they still have those, maybe not. But and your major requirements. So if you're able to fulfill your general requirements, your ways, your colleges, and your major requirements, and you have another reason to take a class, then that is fantastic. You are well on track. Next tip. I'd recommend trying to take at least 1 fun class a quarter. I just think that a lot happens on campus, and by dipping your toe into something new every quarter, you're really leveraging the value of the quarter system, and you're more interdisciplinary, and it's just fun, it adds a bit more balance to your schedule instead of just really intensely focusing on your major. And finally, I would highly recommend declaring early. Now, I was really worried about declaring. Freshman year, I was debating between public policy, classics, and CS, so I was in a bit of confusion. But I learned that when you declare, there's not really that much of a downside. You can ask an upperclassman about this, but you can switch pretty easily, and it sort of puts you on a track or a mindset to think about your requirements very seriously, and puts you on a default track to graduate rather than default not graduating. And so I would highly recommend doing this. You might also get a free shirt or a free mug depending on your major. Okay, next slide. Let me walk you through how I plan my quarters. So it's very simple, 3 steps. Start with your requirements, then big brain, then think about fun. First, let's think about requirements. So depending on where you are, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or later, you'll want to think about your general requirements. The ones that people talk a lot about are the ways requirements. So you'll see them over here. This is AII, which is aesthetic and something inquiry, AQR, applied quantitative reasoning, I think, CE, creative expression, etc. And you have to fulfill all of these requirements before you graduate. So make sure you do that. And the way I would recommend doing these ways requirements is, it's better if you don't have to go out of your way to take it. Maybe you can find a class which you need for your major, which also fulfills a ways requirement, unless if you just want to take a class that fulfills that requirement. So for example, If you're a CS major and want to fulfill your creative expression requirement, CS 148 is a really fun class. It fulfills a CS elective, and it also fulfills your general creative expression requirement. I happened to fulfill this in freshman year with a class just for it, creative writing, because I wanted to learn some of it. But you can do whatever you want. And so, for example, another ways which is really a ways that is really hard to get is the ways AII one for a lot of majors. But I took Think 66 winter quarter, which fulfills both the Think requirement, and then it also fulfills the general AII and CE requirements. So that it just gives me like that flexibility. So this is a great class, and it also was quite fun. And then sophomore year, I took this Intro Sem, which both was super interesting. It fulfilled my Power 2 requirement, and it fulfilled ethical reasoning, which is a fantastic combo. So try to find classes which fulfill your general requirements. Okay, so you're thinking, how do I find these classes when I'm planning? I'd recommend Explore Courses. Here's my trick. You go and you type in the words all courses. Now it shows every single course which is available. That's too much, so let's filter by the ways requirement we want. So let's say we want AII, and then let's say we want not a 5-unit course, let's say we want a 3-unit course, and let's say we want this in spring quarter, so spring. And then click on, and then so now you have it, you have 12 pages, that's a lot. I don't want to click 12 times, so I'll click on printer friendly page, and now I can just scroll through all the courses and read them and find the one which fulfills everything I want. And you can add more filters and keywords in departments, for example, to filter by what exactly you want. But this was a fantastic way for me to find ways fulfilling classes. Okay, so now we have general requirements. What about major requirements? Well, if you don't know your major yet, then you can skip the next bit. But if you do, this is how you do it. Google your major. So I study computer science. So computer science, Stanford, and then program sheet. You should do this with me right now if you know what your major is. Find your program sheet. So I'm going to click on this one. And then copy and paste it into your spreadsheet. I have my spreadsheet linked. I'll have a blank version linked in the description. But okay, so here's my spreadsheet of my major requirements. And just see what classes you have to take. Some of these you can knock out with APs, so make sure you read the fine print. And so you probably have to take 40M or 76. You have to take one of 6B. And then here are the list of the electives you can take. And just shuffle those around and throughout your 4 years and see what quarters you have to take what in order to graduate. But in general, just try to fulfill one class which advances you towards your major 1 or 2, and then one general requirement or so or 2, and you'll be well on track to graduate. It's not too deep. Yep. Great. Okay. And then the next step is big brain. Now, so I think this is what sets apart a okay course plan with a fantastic course plan. You need to think ahead about what you want. Do you want to potentially co-term and get a master's at Stanford? Which is a really good deal, by the way. Do you want to explore a new field? Do you want to meet a professor? Do you want to study abroad? All of these require some advanced thinking. So if you want to co-term in, let's say, MS&E, you should take an MS&E class, see if you like it. And if you take more MS&E classes in your undergrad, you're more likely to get into the co-term. Or if you want to study abroad, say in Florence, you should take an Italian course or something related to Italy. And they'll see that and you'll be more likely to get into your study abroad, but it also will tell you whether or not, applying to the study abroad might be a fit for you. So what I did specifically, for example, is I took this wonderful course, Italian 140. It both was really interesting. It fulfilled my AII requirement. And it also helped my study abroad application because I studied abroad in Florence, which was amazing. And I was able to write about this in my application because it shaped some of my thinking about studying abroad. By the way, study abroad is a great quarter to get all of your WAYS requirements out of the way while also in a foreign country and traveling a lot and having a lot of fun. So highly recommend that. Okay, And then the final step is, sometimes we have all this course planning thinking. Sometimes you should just have fun, have a good time. So add a fun class. Let me show you some of my fun classes. I like creative, my bold ones are the ones I think were particularly amazing or fun. Creative writing. Engineering 4DM might be an unusual course, but I really like the hands-on aspect of building, moving electronic things for the first time. Social dance is a classic. You learn ballroom dance, and I didn't come with dance experience, but it's really great to put yourself out of the comfort zone, especially with friends, and it was just really fun. Social computing is a cool course. I needed it for my major, but also like the first assignment, this is about the theory of how computing systems work in society. And so the first assignment is called Going Viral, and your task is to get as many views on something as possible, like anywhere on TikTok and whatnot. And if you get the most views in the class, you're eligible for extra credit. I think it's really cool to see how people try to go viral. Let's see what else. TAPS 103 is a classic. It's intro improv. Highly recommend. How to put yourself out of your comfort zone and really make people feel creatively inspired when you're working with them. It's just a lot of fun. Just at least shop it and see what's up. Highly recommend. And of course, a lot of the classes during study abroad are really fun. I took a anatomy/biomechanics class with the visiting professor. And for our exams, he would point at statues and ask us what muscle is what, which is a really cool way to take an exam in Florence on anatomy. Okay. And yeah. Okay. Finally, let's just go over course recs and the rest of my spreadsheet and parting thoughts. I really recommend you take CS 123 sometime. If you are interested in robotics or AI at all, as many people seem to be these days, it's a very small course, limited enrollment, but you're put in groups of 3, and the structure of every class is 1.5 hours of lecture, and then 1.5 hours of applying that lecture by building something. You go from like a box of parts to a robot dog at the end of 10 weeks, and you really go from 0 to hero. So you probably should have taken 106B before you take this, but other than that, you don't need experience. And it's really cool because your instructors are amazing. So by the way, the highlighted ones I think were fantastic for fulfilling requirements and also were interesting classes. The bold ones are ones I deeply enjoyed. I want to highlight this one. So many people use this website called Carta, beta.stanford.edu. I recommend it. It's great. It also lets you see when your courses are so you don't have overlaps. It also gives you a rating for the class and past reviews, which is very important. But it's not always exactly true for everyone. So for example, this course was 3 stars or so out of 5, which I think on average is lower. But I really enjoyed the course, and it taught me a very important skill, like how to build websites. So your mileage may vary, but maybe don't always go with the Carta rating, although it's a very good correlate, I would say. And yeah, so you should have your spreadsheet sort of configured like this, although you don't have to. Your courses over your 4 years, your general requirements, your major requirements, maybe you'll have your co-term requirements, and then maybe a spreadsheet just called classes to take. As people tell you good classes, you can see if they fit in your schedule or not. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you should, number 1, talk to an upperclassman who will have the most up-to-date contextual information about what is right for you, maybe your RA. But also feel free to reach out to me, maybe leave a comment, and we'll see if we can come up with something cool. But I really think, in reflection, that the quarter system of Stanford introduces some complexity because you have to plan your courses every quarter. And so how you choose to use this flexibility really determines your academic experience. Whether you choose this flexibility to explore more courses in diverse domains or really just hone in on one, it's your call. But I really think by creatively planning your courses, getting your requirements out of the way that you're not as interested in as quickly as possible, while also being interdisciplinary and taking courses in other fields, it's a fantastic way to make the most of your academic experience. I really like my courses here. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have fun planning.